Hi! Today's story is Stone Soup. Have you heard the story of Stone Soup before? Well, if you have or if you haven't, I hope you'll watch this video. The first time this story was written down was in 1720, as far as we know, and it's been told and retold many times since then. I'm using simple materials to tell the story today. I painted a little background for the story, but then after that I just used whatever little people I had around the house, and they all helped me to tell the story. I did find a stone for Stone Soup, and then my pot. You'll see my pot is kind of interesting as well. Use what you have and use your imagination and tell the story.
Stone Soup. There was a stranger who wandered into a little village. The village was quiet. No one seemed to stir from inside the houses. The stranger was hungry, and he was poor, but what he did not lack was an imagination. So the stranger brought out the one thing he had, which was a stone, and he knocked at the door in front of him. Knock, knock, knock. Well, there was someone home, even though it didn't look like anyone was home, and out of the house came a lady. And the lady said, "What do you want? Can't you see I'm busy inside my house?" "Well," the stranger said, "I was hoping you could help me. I need a pot to cook my soup. You see, I can get water from the river, and I have all the ingredients I need right here, because I'm making stone soup. But I was hoping you could loan me a pot." Well, the lady didn't want to seem unfriendly, so of course she got a pot from her house, and she brought it outside, so as not to let the stranger inside her house. And into the pot the stranger put water from the stream and one clean stone. He lit a fire under the pot, and the process began. Even though no one else came out of their houses immediately, everyone in the village knew that something different was going on. Everyone in the village looked out their windows to see what that stranger might be doing in that big kettle that was cooking in the courtyard. Well, of course, the first person couldn't go back inside. That was her pot, so she stayed outside to watch what was happening. She wondered at how stone soup could work, but she kept quiet. Soon enough, the stranger said, "It's tasting just right. Well, you know, if only I had some carrots, it could be a little better, but it is tasting just right." Well, everyone in the village was listening, and someone in the village did have carrots. In fact, here he came. It was Mr. Skunk said, "Well, you know what? I thought maybe you could use some carrots for your soup." And the stranger said, "Why, thank you so much. Of course I could use carrots for my soup." And the stranger chopped up the carrots and he put them right into the soup. Stone soup with carrots is delicious," said the stranger. And the other two friends stayed out to smell it and to watch it cook. Well, time passed, and soon enough the stranger said, "The only thing that might make it a little bit better is possibly some potatoes." Well, who could have potatoes? There was another person in the village who was listening. It was Cowboy Bob. Cowboy Bob put some potatoes in his hat, and he said, "Here I come, I have potatoes." And he brought the potatoes, and he said, "You know, I was thinking maybe your stone soup could use some potatoes." And the stranger said, "Of course, that would make it delicious. I would love to chop up your potatoes and add them to my stone soup." And that's exactly what he did. The stranger chopped up the potatoes and put them right in the stone soup. The stranger tasted the soup once more. So delicious," he said. "The only thing it might be lacking is some celery, but I love it the way it is." Oh, wouldn't you know it, there happened to be a hedgehog coming out of her house right then that had some celery, and she offered her celery to the soup. Well, of course, the stranger said, "Thank you so much. I will chop it up and add it to my soup." And he did. and the soup kept boiling, and the friends kept sniffing, and every once in a while the stranger would taste the soup. "Oh, so good," he said. "I have never tasted stone soup this good. The only thing that might make it a little better would be some rice." Oh, there was someone with rice in that very village, and out the dog came with the rice and said, "Oh, can I add my rice to your soup?" "Well, of course," said the stranger. "I think that would be wonderful. Thank you so much for the rice." And they passed it down from friend to friend, and in he dumped the rice, and everyone stayed to sniff and to taste and to enjoy the idea of stone soup. By now the stone soup had been cooking for quite some time, and it really was smelling delicious. Well, thought the stranger, it could only use one more thing. He said after he tasted it once more, "How about a little meat?" Well, of course, inventor Joe had meat in his house, and he was just waiting for a chance to join the group. So out he came. He said, "You can chop up my meat and use it in the soup." And so the stranger did. He put that meat right in the soup. Well, by now quite a crowd was gathering out in the center of the village. These people hadn't seen each other in a long time because they'd been staying inside their houses. That soup kept smelling better and better and better, and the water kept boiling and the stone kept rolling around in the bottom of the soup. Said the stranger, "just one more thing, I think, would make my soup the best I've ever had. So how about some seasoning?" Well, wouldn't you know it, back in her house, Miss Owl had been waiting for someone to say they needed seasoning. And in she flew, and she didn't even wait to ask. She sprinkled some seasoning right over the stone soup. And then she landed where she could sniff it and smell it cooking. By this time, the whole village had gathered to smell that delicious stone soup and to watch it cook. Well, it had been going for quite a while, and the stranger said, "It is time. Let's enjoy the soup together." And so the stranger said a blessing, and he passed out soup to everyone in the village, and they all declared it the best soup they had ever eaten. The stranger ate his fill, and so did everyone else. The pot was so big that everyone was able to have a portion. Now, friends were seeing each other that hadn't seen each other in a long time. Friends were hugging and getting to know each other again, talking when they hadn't in a long time. And the village was changing right there that very day. The stranger came and then he left again, but the village was changed forever. And everyone always talked about the day that the stranger came and made stone soup.
Thank you for listening to my story of stone soup. And here are all the friends that I used to tell the story. If you look in the description of my video, you'll find some more information about the story, and you'll also find links to different books that tell the story. Thank you again for listening. Bye-bye for now.